Bikini Bottom is an absolute disaster when it comes to infrastructure, especially housing, roads, and real estate. If a normal human being even thought about living there, they'd probably take one look and immediately dive back into the ocean of sanity. Let's break this catastrophe down. First, the housing situation in Bikini Bottom is downright laughable. The sheer lack of logic in their architectural choices is enough to make a human's head spin. SpongeBob lives in a pineapple. A pineapple. Sure, it's quirky and tropical, but how does it not rot underwater? Does he wake up one morning and find half his kitchen infested with sea urchins because nature finally caught up? And let's not forget his neighbor Squidward, whose house is a giant tiki head that looks more like a regrettable vacation souvenir than an actual residence. How does Squidward even get any natural light in there? That place screams dank and depressing, which honestly explains his constant bad mood. Then there's Patrick, who technically doesn't even have a house. He lives under a literal rock. Call it minimalism if you want, but that rock looks like it's one strong current away from exposing all his furniture, if you can call a sand TV and a single chair furniture, to the elements. Moving on to the roads, if you can even call them that. Bikini Bottom's roads are the underwater equivalent of spaghetti noodles. There's no rhyme or reason to them. They twist and turn unpredictably, leading to frequent boating accidents. And let's not even talk about SpongeBob's driving. If someone as unqualified as SpongeBob can get behind the wheel of a boatmobile, despite failing his boating test more times than anyone can count, what does that say about the infrastructure? Also, why are there traffic lights when no one seems to follow any kind of rules? It's utter chaos. You're more likely to get hit by a runaway jellyfish than make it safely to your destination. Oh, and the potholes. Forget suspension systems. Your boatmobile is likely to sink entirely if you hit one of those bad boys. Who's maintaining these roads? Is there a department of underwater transportation, or is it all just left to chance? It's a miracle anyone gets anywhere. Let's talk about real estate. If you thought New York City was overpriced, wait until you get a load of Bikini Bottom. The Krusty Krab, a fast food restaurant, is apparently one of the most thriving businesses, but it's smack dab in the middle of nowhere. And yet, somehow it's a prime location. Meanwhile, the Chum Bucket, which is literally across the street, is perpetually empty. Plankton's real estate is cursed, sure, but the fact that no one even walks past it speaks volumes. And let's not ignore the fact that Bikini Bottom is basically one natural disaster away from being wiped off the map. Remember the Alaskan bull worm incident? Or the time SpongeBob turned the whole place into a dome of chaos with his bubble-blowing obsession? Investing in property here is like throwing your money into a whirlpool. Even worse, there's no HOA, zoning regulations, or building codes, so you can end up living next to someone who builds a 24-hour drive-thru or a singing clubhouse overnight. The whole city operates like it was designed by a group of jellyfish high on kelp smoothies. To truly grasp how uninhabitable Bikini Bottom is, we need to dive even deeper into its mind-boggling infrastructure issues. Let's start with the absolute absence of any urban planning. From an aerial view, if you can somehow get one underwater, the layout of Bikini Bottom looks like someone threw a handful of random buildings into the ocean and said, "There's no discernible city center, no business district, and certainly no residential zoning." Squidward's tiki nightmare is somehow wedged between a fast food joint and SpongeBob's fruity house, which violates every rule of suburban development. It's like someone took Monopoly pieces, threw them onto a map, and declared it a town. Where are the sidewalks? Seriously, where? Do residents just hover awkwardly in the water? And how do you walk underwater anyway? The streets themselves, if you can call them that, seem to exist in an alternate dimension where physics doesn't apply. One moment you're driving in a straight line, and the next you're upside down because the road decided to do a loop-de-loop. Imagine being a human trying to navigate that mess. You'd need a full GPS system, a scuba guide, and divine intervention just to find your way to the grocery store. Speaking of which, where are the grocery stores? SpongeBob seems to live off Krabby Patties, and everyone else just doesn't eat. Maybe that's why Patrick looks so perpetually sleepy. He's not lazy. He's malnourished.